Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Iggy's Toy Parade and Soldier Review. This is your host, Iggy, and today we're looking at models of an M3 Stuart light tank. These were produced by the United States. However, the United States shared them with the Soviet Union and with Great Britain, and I think some were supplied to the Free Italian Army after 1943. Now, each of these models were produced in 2000 by 21st Century Toys, or sometimes more commonly referred to as Ultimate Soldier, and they represent the M3. There were two models of this tank produced during World War II, one being the M3 Stuart and the other being the M5 Stuart. Now, what is the difference between the two? Well, only a tank expert or someone who's a tank aficionado would probably recognize or realize the differences between the two. The turret is slightly larger on the M5. The armor is a wee bit thicker and it weighs a little bit more. For instance, the M3 Stuart, the original M3 Stuart, had a weight of 13.7 tons, and the M5 had a weight of 16.5 tons. So there was some difference there. The speed was roughly the same between the two, even though the M5 was a little bit heavier. It had a speed of 19 miles per hour cross country, and the M3 original version of the Stuart had cross country of 20. It had a road speed of 36 miles per hour. So these vehicles were intended as scouting or reconnaissance vehicles, and they were not suited for tank versus tank combat. They're only armed with a 37 millimeter gun and or a 1.5 inch main gun, which you see in the turret. Now, when you look at these models, you can see that they have this sort of humorous looking damage to them from being in storage. The alteration between heat and cold causes the plastic parts to bend out of shape, and also the fact that they were stored with something else that was heavy, and over time, these somewhat obvious defects occur. You can see here that the machine guns mounted on the turret have bent. As you can see here, this one is pretty far over, and that one as well. And this is the most extreme damage, is this one here. That's pretty bad. Now, these can be repaired. All you do is dip these in really hot water, boiling hot water. Once it gets soft, you straighten it out with your fingers and then dip it in cold water, and that will reset them to their original shape. So these are not beyond repair. However, there's other damages that occur when it's in storage. As you can see here, this tank has thrown a track. And what happened is where the track was joined together, which you can see this part of it here, it broke loose and came off of the road wheels. Now, this is the first Stuart that I ever bought. And then I was given one for Christmas. Actually, this I think is the first one I bought. And this one was given to me by my young nephews for Christmas. And this one here, the third one, the camouflaged one, was given to me by co-workers when I voluntarily resigned from working at an insurance company after 2 years. And they gave me a very nice going away party and presented me with things I actually liked. They gave me the soundtrack to the Phantom Menace, and I really like that. Anyway, what was I saying? Oh, yes, this was given to me by co-workers, and I thought that was very nice. This particular version represents an M3 that was used in the Solomon Islands. And this would have, in combat, would have been comparable to a Japanese medium tank, the Chiha, and Chiha 97. So it would have been able to go toe to toe with that. Like I mentioned earlier, the armor thickness was not that great and their firepower was not that great. But because of their speed and mobility, they were highly favored for reconnaissance. And the British loved these so much they redubbed it the Honey. Now, these models have these teeth that were welded to the front. And that was a device that was invented to deal with hedgerows in Normandy. It was very difficult for tanks to break through that until they developed these teeth that you see in the front there. And this one has a figure. See, I don't think this figure came with the tank because he just doesn't fit in there very well. See how it's like he's smashing his head into that spotlight there. Is that a spotlight? I think it's a spotlight. Maybe it's the periscope. No, I think it's a spotlight. So let's take a look at the reverse side. Well, we'll see. We'll take a look at all the different sides here. Here's the rear of the vehicle. Here's the rear deck. Here's the front of the vehicle. Now, I went to a reenactment as a World War I German one time, and they had mixed time periods there, and they had some World War II Americans, including one of these tanks. And I was leaving for the day. I had a long drive to go home, so I left a little bit early. And speeding towards me was this tank, a real one. And I could see the tank commander and the driver laughing as they approached me. And I threw my hands up in a mock surrender, which it had an audience because I think it was held at a high school and they had like a stadium seating there. And everyone laughed because, of course, it was absurd to see a tank taking a German prisoner in such a manner. But the tank kept speeding towards me. And I started to get really nervous. And at the very last second, and for some reason, I didn't move. I was like frozen and I didn't move. And the guy slammed on his brakes at the last minute to the, it was so close. I put my hands out in front of me like this, and my hand, when he finally stopped, was just a foot in front of me, resting on the frontal slope. And they thought it was hilarious. I was really mad. I didn't think that was appropriate. And there's a reason behind why I thought that was dangerous. When I was in the Army, I was in Alpha Company of the 2nd 33rd in the 3rd Armored Division in Germany. And there was a guy, I think he was in B Company. And when it would get cold in Germany, we oftentimes would have to jumpstart a tank because the batteries would run out when the temperature dropped. And to charge the battery, you had to put the cable through the driver's compartment where he connected it on each of the tanks. Well, the two tanks were sitting like this. Okay? They were very close like this, and the cable ran from the driver's hatch to the other. Well, there was a sergeant who stood between the two tanks. This is very dangerous and is highly discouraged because of what happened next. The driver of the one tank, his foot slipped off the brake, and the two tanks came together like this. I can't shove them together because of these teeth, but they came together, and the sergeant was screaming until the one driver backed up a little bit, and then he died instantly, cut in half. The reason he didn't die instantly is because the compression from the with his oh, shit, fuck. Sorry about that, guys. Did I drop a tank? I think I broke it. No, there it is. Okay. What caused that? Oh, here it is. Okay. There's a cord that goes between these two lights, and when I scooted forward, my knee hit it, and it dropped over. So sorry for my reaction. That was totally unplanned and unexpected, especially when I was coming to the point of the story. At any rate, the tanks cut the man in half, and of course he died instantly once they separated. And because of knowing of this incident, it really upset me when they came at me. Now, if I was a Russian, I would have just let the tank run over me, because during World War II, the Russians used to do that. I mean, it takes very heavy huevos to let a tank run over you like that. But they would then attach a mine to the bottom of the German tank. And my landlord was telling me that one of his guys in his platoon did that and was successful 13 times before he was finally crushed to death when the Russians caught on to what this guy was doing. I had mentioned that these were supplied to the Soviets under the Lend-Lease program, and the British and Anzac forces received them. The Anzacs would identify their vehicle by having a vertical stripe on their vehicles that was white, red, and white. And that would identify the tank as being British or Anzac. And I had something to say about that, and that just dropped from my. Well, that's very irritating. I think it kind of flustered me when the light fell over. What was I going to say? Well, I'll think of it after the video's over. At any rate, that's all I got for you this time. These three Ultimate Soldier vehicles, 132 scale, as you can see by my hand here. And I think that pretty much covers it this time. Oh, I remember what I was going to say. There's a famous photograph of British Tommies running up onto a German tank, and it looks like it's a Panzer IV. And the one of the Germans is leaning out of the side hatch on the Panzer IV, and he's got his hands up in the air, and the Brits got their rifles pointed at him, and it almost looks like the guy is smiling. Well, I was looking at the photograph and realized this photograph has been staged. It's a propaganda photograph. What it was a German tank that was captured by the British, and what gave it away was the vertical white, red, white stripe that you can plainly and clearly see in the photograph, in combination with the so-called German hanging out of the hatch smiling, indicating that he wasn't in any real danger. Because when you're surrendering, smiling would probably be very difficult, because when you're first captured, now I don't know this from personal experience, but from what veterans were saying, is that when you're first captured, you're really nervous. Are they going to capture me or are they going to just shoot me? And a lot of men didn't know that when they first were being asked to surrender. Well, this guy was smiling, so obviously he knew he wasn't going to be shot or bayoneted because the Brits in the picture had those awesome bayonets on their rifles. Okay, well, I remembered that in the nick of time, didn't I? So that's it for Iggy. I want to thank you for getting Iggy with it and joining the Iggy Army. It's time to hit the dusty trail, so why don't we go ahead and meet up at Roy Rogers Ranch, and maybe Dale will cook us some barbecue or something. Should we sing? Do you guys want to sing? Ob Sturm oder Schnee, ob die Sonne uns lacht, der Tag glühend heißt, oder eiskalt die Nacht. Bestaubt sind sie Gesichter, doch froh unser Sinn, ja unser Sinn. Es braust ist die Panzer im Sturmwind dahin. Now, why did Iggy sing that? When I was a little boy, I used to love the movie Battle of the Bulge, although it's kind of hard to watch now. That's what happens when you start learning about history. But anyway, remember the scene where he comes in, I don't think these boys and old men are up to this attack that we're planning. And then, oh no, these men, they're ready. And one of them starts singing that song. And I memorized it years ago because I always thought that was a great scene in the movie. I have no idea what any of it means. Anyway, you guys take care of each other. Take out your stuff, dust it off, repair your barrels because you don't want a barrel like that, even though that's a barrel of fun. Ha ha. Yay. That's it for Iggy. Bye.